Call to order. This is the statement of conduct. Welcome to the Town of Avon Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. If you're interested in having a copy of the agenda or the staff reports, they are available on the tables to the right of the audience. This meeting is being recorded for the public record. Because of this, we request that personal conversations are kept to a minimum and all cell phones are set to vibrate with any phone calls taken outside of chambers. If you are interested in commenting during any public hearing, please sign up on the sheets located on the tables to the right of the audience. When your name is called, please step forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Please address your comments to the board and not to staff or to the appellant. Your comments should relate directly to the case at hand. We do understand that there may be several persons who wish to speak. The chair may therefore impose a time limit for each person. Federal law requires the town make available to all attendees a Title VI public involvement survey. These surveys are on the table to the right of the audience. Members of the public who wish to complete the survey may do so and place them in the designated area. If, because of a disability, any person in attendance needs assistance or accommodation to fully participate in this meeting, please notify staff. Thank you for your assistance in facilitating a respectful, fair, and timely meeting. Again, welcome to our meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Catherine Ransford.
Here.
Ann Hinman.
Here.
Marcy
Cashler. Present.
Paul Rukenberger.
Here.
Marcus Turner.
Here.
All right, our first thing on the agenda is election of the board chairman. I'd like any nominations from the floor or from the board.
I'll nominate Ann Hinman. Would you accept the nomination?
Well, I'm already vice chair.
That doesn't mean you, is there anything that would keep her from taking the chair? Is that an inappropriate nomination?
You
I don't
could
think
switch
there's
it if you want.
Excuse me?
You could switch it if you want. She would have to resign from it first.
I think I'd rather not take it.
Okay, I withdraw my nomination.
I'd like to nominate Marcus Turner.
I'll second the nomination. Any other nominations from the floor? All in favor of Marcus Turner as chairman, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Marcus is chairman. You get to take over.
Oh, thank you.
Turn your mics on.
And as Ann already stated, she is our vice chairman. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the May 20th, 2021 meeting. Has everyone had an opportunity to review those? Are there any questions or comments? And if there are none, we'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the minutes of May 20th.
I second.
We have a motion by Mr. Guckenberger and a second by Mrs. Ransberg. Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item is request for continuances and/or agenda modifications. Does staff have any requests?
We do not.
And next item is public comment. Does anyone wish to address the board? And with no one coming forward, public comment is closed. We have no old business. Going on to new business. This is variance 21-09, Reagan Logistics Park Trail. Staff?
VAR 21-09, the Reagan Logistics Park Trail. This is a request for the approval of a development standards variance of Chapter 24, Section 24-22 of the Town of Avon zoning ordinance. That request is to eliminate the requirement for a trail along the west side of Ronald Reagan Parkway. This property is located in the vicinity of Ronald Reagan Parkway and south of County Road 100 South. It is zoned I-3 and is located within the Ronald Reagan Overlay District. As I previously indicated, this case is a variance of development standards seeking relief from the requirement to build a 12-foot trail along the west side of the Ronald Reagan corridor. This property does have a fairly, there we go. Not working. Okay, we're getting there. This property does have a fairly extensive land use history in the recent past that includes a rezoning, a subdivision request, and a previous variance request. And all these recent petitions do relate to the development of this property into an industrial logistics park consisting of about 2 buildings and the associated parking and semi-loading and loading spaces and so forth. The 2 development plan review petitions pending before the Plan Commission shown on the slide up there are for the 2 buildings that are going to be constructed on this property. The town expects that to be heard by the Plan Commission on June 28th, both of those petitions, and then we expect fairly shortly thereafter the development of the site to begin. The site itself is zoned I-1, located within the Ronald Reagan Corridor Overlay District. To the north is a pocket of residential development that's located within the county's jurisdiction. But the overwhelming development pattern in this particular area is an emerging industrial development that's proceeding essentially from the south and west to the north and east through the town of Plainfield and the town of Avon. This exhibit here shows generally the location of the site with the big star on it, and then also how the development pattern there has evolved over the years with large logistics and warehouse land uses to the south and to the west of the site, and then through this site to more, some legacy single-family residential and some single-family residential development to the north. And this is a close-up of the site in question. And it is, like I said, had several land use petitions for ultimately 2 buildings on it. This is a request to eliminate the requirement of the trail. The Ronald Reagan Corridor Overlay District states that quote, a multi-use pathway shall be provided on the west side of the Ronald Reagan Parkway, and the path shall have a minimum of 12 feet in width and have a minimum 20-foot buffer between that path and the roadway unless such a buffer is not feasible due to site constraints. The original intent of the Ronald Reagan Corridor Overlay District was to create a coordinated macro design along that corridor, with Plainfield, Brownsburg, Avon, and Hendricks County adopting these standards into their ordinances. Since the corridor began being development, only Avon and Hendricks County have adopted fully these ordinances and design standards into their development ordinances as originally proposed. In fact, neither Plainfield nor Brownsburg has required the construction of a trail along the western side of the parkway, and nor do either one of these entities intend to do that. While the original intention to construct a 12-foot trail, multi-use trail along both sides of the parkway was the ultimate desire, the execution of the parkway and the trail system supporting it has diverged from that desire. As you've seen on the exhibit up there, that starts up at approximately 300 north. There has been a trail constructed all the way through the Avon's corporate limits. From the north corporate limits to the southern corporate limits. However, the location of the trail has only been constructed on 2 sides of the road from US 36 north. And that is really intended to serve the residential land uses that do exist on both sides of that particular part of the corridor. In those areas south of US 36, where industrial developments are intended to dominate, a 10 to 11 foot multi-use trail was constructed, but only on one side of the parkway. From US 36 south to County Road 100 south, it was constructed on the western side of the parkway, and at 100 south, it crosses over and then is constructed on the eastern side of the parkway from 100 south to the southern corporate limits. In discussions with the town manager, the town has no intention, nor does it see any need to construct additional trail sections. The town believes the trail to be complete through its corporate limits. And so the original vision to complete a trail on both sides of the parkway will only exist north of 36. The way the trail is currently laid out on south of US 36 is the way it's going to remain in Avon. There is also a practical rationale to avoid construction of the trail along the western portion of the parkway. There is a significant drop off in the topography once you get within 10 feet of the traveled way of the parkway. And while it is conceivable that during the development of the Reagan Logistics Park, the right-of-way of the parkway could have been augmented and the trail constructed, since the town has no intention of actually completing the trail to the north or to the south, and Plainfield does not have a trail on its side of the parkway, it serves no useful purpose. The town has requested that the developer construct crosswalks at the proposed intersection of Veterans Way with Ronald Reagan Parkway, Veterans Way being the main road into and out of this development, that would allow access to the existing trail. Additionally, when the crosswalk, when that intersection would be signalized, and the town does anticipate that it will be signalized shortly after the completion or during the construction of the 2 buildings that are on this property. that pedestrian access way will then also be signalized to allow for pedestrians to cross the parkway safely. And this exhibit shows that crosswalk, both to the north and to the south of Veterans Parkway. So in summary, the staff doesn't believe that the request represents a potential injury to the public health, safety, or general welfare of the community. We believe that the variance is the minimum necessary, that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance does constitute a practical difficulty when applied to this property, and that the need for the variance was not caused by the owner, either the previous owner or the present. We do recommend approval of VAR 2109, subject to one condition outlined in our staff report, that crosswalks shall be constructed at the proposed intersection of Ronald Reagan Parkway and Veterans Drive to allow safe access to the trail. We do ask that the Board of Zoning Appeals incorporate the staff report and our findings into the record, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Does anyone have questions for staff?
Could we go back to the, there you go. Just so we could give a better idea of how the crosswalks are going to work. So that's Veterans Parkway on the west side there.
It'll be the west and east side, although the east side won't be constructed with the development. It'll be constructed at a future date.
And we're anticipating that that intersection will be signalized.
Yes, it'll have
to allow for use of the crosswalk.
Yes, it'll have both pedestrian and vehicular signalization on it.
Okay.
Is Veterans Parkway what we've been referring to as Lazaro Road for years? Lazaro Road, I mean.
I think I'm not entirely certain on that, but I think it is. The intention is that that becomes a through street. Plainfield will pick it up and connect it through its jurisdiction.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Are we ready to hear from the petitioner?
Hi, can everybody hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Good. Good evening. My name is Brian Sheward. I'm a civil engineer on the project with Kimley Horn Associates. Our offices are at 250 East 96th Street, Suite 580 here in Indianapolis. Appreciate the ability to jump on virtually on this. So sorry I'm not there in person, but I believe on the line with me as well is my client and the petitioner, which is Distribution Realty Group, or DRG for short, as well as, and that's Curran Darling with DRG, and then Brad Chase with Arco Design Build, who will be the general contractor on this project. So if there's specific questions that I may not be able to answer for you, they hopefully can help out. Mr. Peoples did a really nice job presenting the case. I do have a short 4 or 5 slides that I can pull up to help maybe reiterate, but I'll keep it short. Let me see if I can share my screen, and then we can quickly show this. It's going to say, there we go. Okay. So the case at hand of VAR 2109, it is a elimination request from the multi-use trail, the section 24-22 of the zoning ordinance. And this is the Reagan Logistics Park, and I can explain briefly the project and then reiterate a few things. So this graphic that you see on the screen, all of the green hatching is Avon, all of the non-green hatching is Plainfield, and you'll see that the blue bounded area is the project site, and then the red dashed line along the east side of Ronald Reagan Parkway on past down south of 200 South is what is existing today. And as a note to reiterate, when you travel south into Plainfield for the entirety of the Reagan down to essentially 70, I believe, the trail is on the east side. And as you go north up to 100, the trail does not continue today north of 100, but As Mr. Peoples noted, it is on both sides of the road the further north you go. So the project in general, as Mr. Peoples noted, we intend to go to attend the Plan Commission meeting later this month for a development plan. But in summary, in a nutshell, this is approximately 77 acres on the west side of Ronald Reagan Parkway, with some associated utility improvements on the east side to bring sewer and water service to the site. Zoning is I3. It's a compatible use with this type of industrial warehousing development. There's two buildings. We refer to it as Building A to the south, Building B to the north. Building A is a single load industrial warehouse with docks facing south, and Building B, the larger of the two, is a cross dock with parking on the east side, as well as drainage facilities to serve both the on-site public or the on-site private development, as well as the extension stub of what we're calling Veterans Drive, which will end today in a cul-de-sac. But we've been working with Scott Singleton and the town of Plainfield. I think the intention is to eventually extend this road over to All Points Parkway to make it a through street. And then John Lazaro, the owner of the property to the east, which you had asked a question about, we will, with this project, be dedicating right-of-way for that road to be extended over to 1050, which is the next north-south street to the east. But the road would not be constructed with this project, likely to be constructed when the east side of the road is developed. To reiterate, there's a signalized intersection planned with crosswalks, as Mr. Peoples noted, as well as on both sides of Veterans Drive, there'll be sidewalks that will carry pedestrians from the two developments, as well as potentially the through road along Veterans Drive, so that they can access the crosswalks to get to the existing multi-use trail on the east side. Several things that were noted, and just to reiterate, there is an existing multi-use trail on the east side. I've got a few pictures of that as well. There is an existing swale on the west side of Ronald Reagan Parkway that drops off fairly quickly from the back of curb on the west side of the road. And I do not believe there's an intention from the town to extend a trail from the north property line in this corner up to County Road 100, or from the south edge of this property down to County Road 200. So the trail, if installed, we don't see anyone ever using it, because the connectivity would likely never actually happen. And because of that, we're providing a means for pedestrians to cross and utilize the trail on the east side of the road. Photo on the left is an aerial. You can see that the trail exists on the east side of the road. On the west side, it drops off into a swale, which captures runoff from the road on the west side of the road, as well as a swale on the east side of the trail. And a few pictures. This is the trail as you're looking northbound on Ronald Reagan Parkway across the frontage of our property. And then this is at the northeast corner of our site. What you'll notice, and a point to make, is there is private property that exists right where these woods are. So between the back of curb, the swale that was put in with the Reagan, and coming up that slope, you effectively get to the property line. There's not really an ability, without acquiring private property or I guess major reconstruction of Reagan, to be able to extend that trail up to County Road 100. So in summary, Mr. Peoples noted that the town does not have an intention nor sees any need to construct additional trail sections, that the connectivity is already here, and that with the subject to the following condition, that a crosswalk or crosswalks be provided at the new proposed signalized intersection, which is our intention to do, and that's part of our design already. So with that, I'll stop, and happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Does anyone have any questions for petitioner? Nothing? Okay, then we'll, at this point, we'll open up the public hearing. Does anyone wish to comment on VAR 21-09? And with no one coming forward, we will close the public hearing. Discussion.
So a comment for Bill or a question. So when we talk about the crosswalk being signalized, who would be involved in making that approval? Do we have any other body that has to review that, or is that all the town of Avon?
It's a town. Yeah, it's the town of Avon. Matter of fact, as part of the development of the Reagan Park, the conduits and the bases for all of the infrastructure associated with the signal are going to be installed. The town's merely waiting for the warrants to be met before we install that signal itself. So yeah, we believe, the town anyway believes that it's going to be signalized in the very near term. It's just a matter of waiting for the warrants to be met with the right amount of traffic.
And then just to follow up and just to make sure I understood this, the practical difficulty on constructing that, if we stayed with the original vision, we'd basically have a trail that goes nowhere, because we talked about that with developments where nothing on either end and serves no purpose for.
Yeah, I mean, that is probably a common argument you hear for a lot of requirements to build sidewalks and those sorts of things. And I've worked in jurisdictions where, yeah, sure, it's not going to be built now, but it's going to be built sometime in the future. And that's why we want you to put it in. In this particular case, the town is not going to require that trail to be built at all on that side of the road. From the town's perspective, the trail is constructed the way it is constructed, all the way from town limit to town limit. And that's the way it's always going to be. So we're not going to augment it with trail sections on the east side of the road, north on 100 South, nor with trail sections on the west side of the road on south of 100 South.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I also have a question for Bill. So do we understand that the town of Brownsburg and the town of Plainfield have said it's a hard no, we are not building those trails on the west side, or we're not building them now?
Yeah, no, that's the way the trail is in Plainfield is the way it's going to be, and it's on the west side of the road, or I'm sorry, on the east
On the
side
east
of
side.
the road. Yeah, and it goes all the way. In fact, the trail section in Plainfield was the first trail section that was constructed in Plainfield, constructed all the way to our southern limits. And that's the reason that we actually extended it the way it was, because that's where the trail was. And Plainfield's not going to construct it on the west side of the road either.
Okay. So the vision of having a trail that's going through the length of Hendricks County is being met, just not quite in the way it was intended.
It's not going to be on both sides of the road. And from the town's perspective, where we've placed it on, where we've constructed on both sides of the road is because people live on it. And that if someone wants to, run south over the bridge and run south, they can, but they're going to have to cross the street to do that, because there's no intent in this particular area of the town for there to be residents per se. It's going to be businesses, industrial and commercial land uses. That's the town's vision down here.
Okay, thank you.
I'm kind of in agreement with Paul here about practical difficulty. I thought staff did a really good job of laying out some of the topography issues that they're going to encounter should they build that. I did want to deviate from the statutory things just for a minute here. The staff report basically said that the town has no intention of building that trail on that side of the road, and it under action requested, it specifically mentions section 23-22. I haven't looked that up. Is that there because that trail appears in either the overlay or the trail and sidewalk master plan, or is where those things are going to be built? Is that where are those requirements defined?
That's a action requested. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
It's actually section 24, 22. It's the provision of the code. That was wrong in our staff report. It should have been 24-22.
24, and section 24 Where's it pulling that from? Is it pulling it from the overlay, or is it pulling it from trail and sidewalk?
From the overlay. Yeah, the chapter 24 is the Ronald Reagan corridor overlay.
Well, my concern here, again, this isn't statutory and geared toward the case, but it sounds to me like we haven't done a good job of maintaining our comprehensive plan documents. And if, it's shocking to see in here that, hey, this isn't part of the plan's vision, when that's the document that defines the vision of the town. And, no need to drag these guys in here for a variance when we kind of changed our vision. It would, I guess what I'm getting at is I'd like to request that the Plan Commission look at those documents again and redefine where those trails are so that we're not needlessly drawing people in here to go through the variance process.
Yeah, the staff agrees with that. The Plan Commission will likely see a unified development ordinance in the near term, and certain elements of the current zoning ordinance will probably not be in that UDO, just because it's either something that the Board of Zoning Appeals has routinely approved, or it's like in this particular case, there was an original vision before the Ronald Reagan corridor was constructed. We've constructed the corridor, we've constructed the trails. We haven't met the letter of the design, but we've met the intent behind it. So we're just going to eliminate that section from the ordinance itself. And
I completely understand.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have the Plan Commission formally modify that so we're not dragging others through this process.
And that will be the intention of one of the many intentions of the Unified Development Ordinance when it comes before the Plan Commission, the Town Council, hopefully before the end of the year.
Other discussion? If there is none, we'll entertain a motion.
I would like to move that we approve variance 21-09, a variance from development standards to eliminate the requirement to construct a multi-use trail on the west side of Ronald Reagan Parkway, which is construction of a multi-use trail that was required, as having satisfied the requirements for variances under state law for the following reasons. The requested variance will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Number two, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Three, the strict application of the terms of the Avon zoning ordinance will constitute a practical difficulty if applied to the property for which the variance is sought. Four, the variance requested is the minimum necessary. Five, the need for the variance was not caused by the owner, previous or present. As per the reasons stated in the Town of Avon staff report dated June 8, 2021, staff recommends that variance 21-09, Reagan-Lanischicks Park Trail, to eliminate the requirement to construct a multi-use trail on the west side of Ronald Reagan Parkway, be approved, subject to the staff findings of fact and with the following conditions. Number one, crosswalks shall be constructed at the proposed intersection of Ronald Reagan Parkway and Veterans Drive to allow safe access to the trail.
A motion by Mrs. Inman. Is there a second?
I actually wanted to suggest that we insert signalized in front of crosswalks under number one.
I agree with that suggestion.
You okay with that, Mrs. Inman?
Yes.
Okay. So we have modified motion by Mrs. Inman. Is there a second?
Second.
And we have a second by Mr. Guckenberger. Any further discussion? We'll take a roll call, please.
Catherine Ransberg,
Four.
Ann Inman,
Four?
Marcy Tashler,
Four.
Paul Guckenberger,
4.
Marcus Turner.
4.
The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other business we need to address?
No, no other business. Well, signatures on the document, but no other business coming before you tonight.
And those signatures, have you sent that document down yet?
The findings of fact, it should have been right.
It wasn't online.
That's fine, we can,
I can get it.
Okay.
we'll pass it. Okay. If that's all, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Put that out. That's odd.